Hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the 65th Eden Fractal meeting. I'm here, we're with Noam and Duane and Joe and Lisa and Eric and Gudasol and Tadas and Rosmari and Perry. Hello everybody. We've been having some really interesting discussions for the past half hour or so. If anyone wants to give a shout out or say hello, then feel free to do so. Hope everybody's doing well. Really appreciate everybody joining. Really appreciate everybody watching as well. I'm going to share a presentation about what we've been up to lately and the topics on the agenda for this week. And then we're going to go to the breakout rooms in the next 5 minutes or so. So if everybody's ready, then I'll share the presentation. Or if anyone wants to say anything first, then feel free to do so now. All right, so edenfractal.com, where you can learn some stuff about Eden Fractal, as well as t.me/Eden Fractal. You can see Rosmari's post here, where you can find the Zoom link and RSVP for future meetings at lu.ma/Eden Fractal as well. And then, of course, you can scroll through here and explore the website to learn more about what we're doing here. If this is your first time watching, you're catching up. And of course, you can watch the videos on edenfractal.com/videos. We released the 63rd episode this week, Connected Coordination, talking about topics, the topics game, and jitsi. And we talked about what the best way is to connect a digital community when we fuse the Eden Fractal topics game with an open source video conferencing tool called Jitsi to trailblaze global coordination. And then we also have a bunch of other great episodes lately. We've been coming out with some really cool ones lately. So I encourage everybody to check out edenfractal.com/videos to catch up on our recent progress, and also the Eden Creators YouTube channel, youtube.com/@EdenCreators, to explore all the cool stuff and share with friends too. We have a bunch of amazing people and amazing things going on here. So I encourage everybody to share. We're going to play Cagendas after we go to the breakout room. So first we're going to play the respect game in the breakout rooms, and then we're going to play Cagendas after that at the top of the hour at 17 UTC, social coordination game where anybody can propose topics and we can create agendas together. So I encourage everybody for future weeks, or if you have anything on your mind, also this week too, to propose a topic or a proposal for the community. I just created a topic because this is the main topic that's been on everybody's minds about updating the community account permissions. Well, there's been lots of exciting topics on everybody's minds, but this is one of the main things we need to focus on. We discussed this last week after Patrick and CAC requested to be removed from the Msig. And so we had a discussion last week for about an hour or an hour and a half about the best way to proceed with the community account in the Msig. So that's what I proposed for this week. And I figure that everybody can upvote here. I already upvoted too, and that's the only topic on the proposal. So, or that's the only topic that's been proposed so far. So I think that we'll discuss this. And basically, I figure we can specify the proposal and vote on the proposal during the Cagendas game. There's been a lot of really interesting discussion. Noam and Perry and Tadas and myself and Jorge and I think a few other people also participate in these discussions. So thanks so much for all the great ideas in the Telegram group, and encourage everybody to read about, to follow the Telegram group to see all the great discussions that have been happening there. I also, you can see a little bit here where I summarize some of the stuff as well as Tadas's response. I just copied a couple of these, but we can specify what proposals. These are kind of two introductory proposals. Actually, I didn't copy the right one here, but yeah, basically we made kind of two draft proposals, and then we can see which is best, or if we want to improve, we can discuss in the breakout after the breakout room. And Rosmari also uploaded the unlisted 64th video in the Telegram chats as well as show notes as well. So you can see what we discussed last week if you'd like to. Anybody can watch that. And these show notes will come in more detail soon. We have some highlights and timestamps and so forth as always. And also there's the edencreators.com/msig article with more details about that if you'd like to learn. Anyway, I think that's enough for the presentation. So we will go into the breakout room, which you can learn at edencreators.com/eden+fractal, but you've seen them all before. So yeah, basically we're ready to go. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. If anyone would like to share, I know Eric, you said you were planning on doing an event with Joe at the open mic night, or not open mic night. We did open mic night, but now there's going to be like an AI tutorial with Joe at Lee's coffee shop or something like that. If you want to briefly introduce it or save it for later, or if anybody else had anything else on your mind, then feel free. But anyway, if anyone wants to say anything before we go in, then feel free. Now's a good time to do so.
Yeah, so we have the at open mic night, we gave people 5 minutes to do whatever they want, and Joe used his 5 minutes to create a music video about Planet Eyeke in 5 minutes. So I got such a response of people saying, that's cool, how do you do it? He went so fast, that Joe agreed to spend an hour going through that slowly and show us all how to make music videos on the fly using AI, and that's Friday. So I put the link in the chat. I'll do it again, but it's also on Telegram. So please promote it. We've got so far most of the people that are signing up are from outside promoting I've been doing. So not from our group, but it'll be an introduction to them. And the other thing is that Yeah, so sign up for that and promote it. And the other thing is Joe's working with our Alien Worlds Governance Committee budget to build the Center for Governance in Spatial. So he's got the building built already. So now we just need to go inside the building and do more of that.
All right, super cool. Well, thanks for letting us know, Eric. If you could post that in the Eden Fractal chat too, t.me/Eden Fractal, I appreciate it too, so we can follow up there. And yeah, encourage you to check it out. Thanks again. The open mic night was really cool. I'm looking forward to this. Joe has got away with the AI tools that I'm excited to learn more about. And yeah, there's also lots more exciting initiatives that everybody's going on too. So encourage people to check that out.
Well,
and looking forward to
one of the reason this is important is it's just making it easy for all of us to create content that we can share and promote what we're doing. So anything we can do to share content is good.
Yep, sounds great. Helping each other be all more capable and powerful and so forth. I completely agree. I see Lisa raise her hand, and we're 9 minutes past the up hour, so I say we should go into the breakout rooms within the next minute or two. But first, I'll pass it over to Lisa, and then we'll head in.
Just a quick question. Are we streaming it live?
No.
Be great if we could, so a lot of people who can't join can watch.
So how
And
do
then,
we?
you know, there might be some community managers who could give away some prizes in the chat.
So how do we stream live from Zoom?
That sounds like it is possible to do from Zoom, but that sounds like a
Good.
more technical question that we can follow up in the Telegram chats, I think. So if everybody's ready, I'll start the breakout room now. If anybody else wants to say a quick word, then feel free. But otherwise, I'll open the breakout rooms and hope that everybody has an amazing time. And we'll see you all back in the community room. Yeah, hey all.
Hey. What's up, guys?
Oh, you know, just Eden Fractal stuff. Been a while since we've seen you here, Gudasol. Thanks again for joining. Appreciate you. And looking forward to hearing you from you.
It's good to be here. I wish I could be here more. I'm like actually literally in another meeting still, but I'm just like listening. So yeah, I wanted to come back for a while, so I made the decision, and then this meeting kind of popped up right before this, but all good. I'm here. I'm present.
Awesome. Well, yeah, sounds good. Thanks for joining and appreciate you wanting to join. We've been doing some really cool stuff here. And yeah, I think you said you were in like some Spanish meeting or something like that. So I imagine it might be a little bit confusing with 2 languages going on, but I hope you're enjoying that as well. And also Rosmari and Lisa and Joe. Hopefully you're all doing well. I'm trying, for some reason, my camera's like super zoomed in. It happens whenever I go into a new breakout room, and I'm trying to figure out how to unzoom myself. Oh, I found it. So now I can unzoom myself, I think. Nice to see you, Rosmari. Looks like you're in, you got a nice spot with some plants and buildings and so forth. Hope that you're enjoying it and are very comfortable where you are. And you're welcome, of course. Yeah, if anyone wants to go first and share what you've been doing, what you've been doing to help Eden Fractal and stuff, then feel free to go ahead. Or yeah, if anyone wants to just share whatever else, then happy to hear it. I'm still trying to figure out my camera thing, by the way. I keep losing it. Okay, I got it now working. So does anybody want to go first and share what they have been doing to help the community lately?
Sure, I can go first. Hold on, let me turn down my other meeting. So first of all, good to see you also, Rosmari. It's been a while. So I guess the biggest thing I've been doing is just running Aquadac. I haven't really done pretty much anything for Eden Fractal specifically. So besides being here, I've been trying to be a little bit more active, and I do want to start attending more meetings. But yeah, that's my contributions.
Cool. If you do want to share more with us, Gudasol, I know, like, for example, you've been experimenting with some new ways of voting that could potentially be used by fractal communities as well. So you could go into that a bit. We're also, I know you've been doing a lot of stuff with Tetra as well, and also some music stuff too. So, you know, it doesn't have to be specifically for Eden Fractal. If you could tie it into how it relates to Eden Fractal and how it helps, that's cool. But you can, you know, sharing cool music that inspires people and might attract people to the community, or building tools that might be helpful for us. If you wanted to, you could take up to, you know, 3 or 4 minutes more to go into a bit more about what you've been working on and how that might help the
Sure.
community if you'd like.
Yeah, so one thing I first did is, first of all, to back up, I've been experimenting with my idea of voting, which I came up with like before Fractally, before Eden even. And that's more of like a plurality voting system where you can vote for multiple people, combined with like a ranked weight voting system. I might be getting the terms mixed up, but the concept is you have a limited amount of votes and then you give them to each person. So the first sort of thing I did is I built like a UI where you just like adjust the position of the person, and then that becomes your list, and it's rated 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and that becomes your vote, and then you add up each individual's person's vote to get consensus. So there's not like consensus, it's just your individual vote. The other thing we've been experimenting with is just ranking people 1 to 10. And that one's kind of weird, but that's one that we're actually experimenting with now. Corellia, who's a member of the group, she made us a spreadsheet. And on that spreadsheet, you can just rate numbers from 1 to 10 to each person. How that's probably relevant here is I'm kind of learning more about like the social implications of like rating people and have people rating people in public, which is interesting. I kind of like the rank thing where you can only give each individual person 1 vote. But yeah, so it's experiments. Nothing's really been put to a final form, but yeah, Space Wrangler Joe, good to see you as well. He's been there with us every week, sort of going through the races with us and keeping us on track too, to remember like why we're actually at the Aquadac, and that is for our personal growth together, and sort of remaining that on the focus as we evaluate these voting systems to choose what's really most efficient for us. We've realized that our members don't really mind too much about tokens. We had a discussion about that. So we are focusing on like what can we do to improve the personal growth aspect. And yeah, so we're still experimenting. We're still sort of playing around with these type of things. So I gotta sort of pay attention to this other meeting real quick, but that's what I got.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you, Gudasol, for sharing the update and also all the great work with Aquadac. I've been able to join most of those and have really been enjoying and getting a lot of value from it too. And yeah, it's cool for you to report on what you're doing there. You know, a lot of it's quite related to Aquadac. I recommend people checking out edencreators.com/Aquadac to learn more. Rosmari did a really cool interview where we talked quite a bit about Aquadac and Eden Fractal and stuff like that too, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm really excited about your progress there, and thanks for sharing, Gudasol. And would you like to pick anybody to go next?
I will pick Rosmari.
Cool.
Great, thank you. Thanks. And so this week I've been editing past show notes and making sure that they're up to date with also highlights portion along with timestamps. And timestamps were already on the YouTube description, but in the highlights section of each episode show notes, there's a bit of thunder to hear. I was making sure that the most recent show notes, at least, they have the highlight section with a summary of what the meeting was about alongside timestamps of the key moments, so that it's nicely summarized for people who don't have the time to watch the full episode. So I was focusing a lot on that and improving the process of writing show notes. also have been, I edited a video for EF65, which is the one about jitsi, as well as the EF65 I mean EF64 because today, this meeting is EF65, and the jitsi one is 63 and 64 is about the Msig. So I edited both of these. The 63 one is published already. The 64 one is almost there. I just need to publish it pretty much. Just make sure that the thumbnail and everything else looks good. And I've also been reading about optimism grants and been helping them brainstorm how to go about it. And we've been collaborating alongside Vlad and Tadas for this in the Notion, and been trying to keep up with what the progress is there, and also organize it better or give advice. And I did read about the grants themselves and familiarize myself with optimism as well as virtual PGF. I think I watched the one podcast. It seems pretty interesting. And also I promoted the fractalien Worlds meeting that happened on Monday. And as well as promoting this meeting. And I worked a bit more on editing the Fractal DJ video, and as well as just making progress on releasing the Eden Fractal 56. I worked on the thumbnail, which needs some re-editing. But yes, making progress with the videos, and that's it from me. Lisa, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hello. Well, it's good to hear all of the updates, and I always do wonder between Eden Fractal and and fractals, which to talk about. I did invite someone today, but I don't think he came. He's a developer, but maybe in the future, still getting his head around what we're doing. But yeah, I'd say I attend obviously Eden Fractal and Fractalien Worlds, and continue to think about and have discussions with people who indicate an interest about possible models for sustenance of fractals and how to support new fractals and how fractals support themselves ongoing and what that looks like in anticipation of communicating with more and more communities in the future. So yeah, and then also thinking a bit about with Duane what eyeke fractal might be and do, and mainly getting ready for the interplanetary unconference and looking forward to sharing whoever's fractals would like to be shared with those who care about the planet and who are watching on live streams. And yeah, that's it. Now let's see, who hasn't gone yet?
Joe or myself?
Did Joe not go? Okay.
Don't think that Joe went.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So this week, it's kind of blurred. Weeks are blurring into each other. But I was able to attend Alien Worlds and the Aquadac. Both have been productive. The Aquadac's been really interesting. The whole personal growth thing. When I first joined it, I didn't think it was go. I guess I kind of did, but I thought it was going to be a whole nother thing. We were talking about multiple dimensions and all kinds of stuff when I first started. And I feel like it's actually grounded in some very basic reality. And yeah, it's been really beneficial and a big learning experience and a good connection. So thanks to Eden Fractal for bringing that into my life and the people who are involved with it as well. And I've been also kind of learning, registering, and trying to get involved with the unconference as well. And, you know, trying to get my head around what I can do to contribute and help with that. I did do the Center for Governance thing. It's open now. You can go into Spatial, into the Center for Governance on Planet Eyeke. The links are in the Telegram. You can go walk around to check out the building. You can't go in it right now, but it's there. It's a beautiful environment, lots of purples and blues and alien looking, and building looks like, you know, what Eric has in his background as the image that represents Center for Governance. Hopefully by the time I'm doing the demo for the video, I'll have the, you know, the meeting space so I can kind of give it there for the people who can get into Spatial, and the people who can't will do kind of like a Zoom combo thing. So that'll be a good kind of test for me of the combination of using, you know, two platforms to make it available to people that maybe don't have the best computer, so that they can still access these amazing tools that are available. I've been following up on all of the stuff on Alien World. They're trying to keep up. There's just so freaking much with all this. Like I was on a live thing yesterday trying to answer questions, and I've been in their Telegram and into their Discord, and I've been talking with Red, I've been talking with Noam. I joined the games, or not games, the science committee with Noam, and he is doing a game, which I think is really cool, connecting NASA, a program they already have, but basically utilizing that as a learning and gaming tool. So I'm getting involved with that. I love to learn. I think it's a positive thing. And what else? Oh yeah, I've been continuing with my Upland people. I've got a lot of people kind of sold on the idea. They're kind of like, okay, like when are we doing this? So I'm just still wrapping my head around the best way to do a fractal dance, and really helpful. So has Lisa. Everyone's been really helpful, really. But yeah, so that should be up and coming soon. Yeah, and that's what I've been doing. And so, Mr. Dan.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Space Wrangler Joe. I appreciate all you're doing very much. And yeah, I'm stoked to collaborate and happy to help with what you're doing with the Upland community and fractals, and really excited to hear all your progress, as well as Lisa's and Rosmari's and Gudasol's too. Really, really super exciting stuff. I will share a little bit about what I'm working on now, and I'll share my screen. Okay, so a bunch of different things. At some point, I was just thinking maybe it might be helpful, like in previous presentation, I could find like a table of contents, and this one just opened up on edenfractal.com. But that's the point, I wanted to have like a table of contents so I can provide an overview. That's something I've been thinking about for a while with this show. I don't know if I announced it here actually, but I'm planning to launch like a show from these presentations called Garden Joy. I have some presentations available. Oh, and I just got a reminder to trigger the election too, because I have to trigger the election. So that'll be one of my contributions shortly after I do this presentation, as well as thinking about the best way to promote what we're doing and make cool videos. But anyway, one of my main goals this week, Rosemary mentioned a couple times, I mentioned it prior, but I've been focusing a lot on the optimism community, and this is where the majority of my time has been spent in the past week or so, for fostering collaborations between optimism and Eden Fractal, and also aiming to start a new optimism fractal as well. making a proposal for it. Optimism is a leading layer 2 solution in the Ethereum community. And so there's a bunch of amazing people doing super cool stuff in the Ethereum community. And Optimism is really focused on creating public goods that are helpful for everybody and also improving the way that people cooperate and so forth. So it's a very highly aligned community, and they have a significant amount of funding available. So I think it'll be a really good opportunity to grow everything we're doing here and support everybody's efforts. There's a grants council system that there's a proposal system. I just heard about it last week and it's due tomorrow. So I've been working a lot on getting an application ready and then reading all this stuff to understand how it works, as well as listening to many podcasts over the past week to learn more about people in the community and what they're doing and all the cool stuff going on. So there's been lots of time there. They're actually using a new platform called Charmverse, which I did some research into as well. It's kind of like Notion, but it's like a Web3 version of Notion that works with EVM. So I did some research into Charmverse and figure how this might be helpful for Eden Fractal to use as well. It also has like a proposal system, so that could be helpful for Fractalien Worlds or Aquadac or all these different communities potentially as well. So doing some research there. And then, yeah, these are some of the other opportunities that I'm preparing for Retro PGF. Really exciting opportunity where they're funding public goods. And I think that we can integrate what we're doing with fractals, perhaps into, they have a system called the OP Stack, which is like their software. And they have a bunch of different communities using this. So I'm aiming to kind of get very deeply integrated with the community. But first I have to introduce ourselves to the community and so forth. I put together a project in Notion. I'm working a lot with Rosmari on Notion projects, which is a relatively new Notion feature. And so I created a project and have like 30 tasks or so. I've also been collaborating with Vlad and Tadas, who are interested in building some of these tools. Tadas has already been building a lot of the EVM tools already. So that's one of the reasons why I've been focusing on this too, because now we have EVM tools already, and that's where a lot of people are. So you can see the tasks here and then some next steps and so forth, where I've been kind of leading this project, closely collaborating with Rosmari. So huge thanks to Rosmari for helping with a lot of it, and we've been talking about it often. And then I've been trying to answer, what would the mission be of Optimism Fractal, and preparing for a meeting and finding all these different applications and allocating time and budget and reviewing new ideas and stuff like that. I also thought too, like there's so many people who have volunteered to help. Like I know Joe and Gudasol and Lisa. I think you've all volunteered to help raise funding and so forth. So I thought a lot about how to build the team and do it so in a way that we can help reward everybody. So far for this proposal, I decided, because I just heard about it a few days ago, and I've been closely in communication with Vlad, Tadas and Rosmari, maybe just keep it small to begin with. But I reached out, I joined the call, and I'm trying to figure out a way that we can fund everybody's developments and be able to support all the different fractals and all the different communities and stuff like that. So a lot of it's exploratory, in addition to making this first introductory proposal, just to kind of start up a communication. And then we can interact with them much more. I did join the community call that they have. They have a community call every other week. And I spoke with the leader of the call, as well as one of the people on the grants council, as well as one of the founders of Optimism was there too. So that was pretty cool. I only spoke for about a minute or so just to ask some questions. And then I followed up in the Discord chat to ask some questions. This actually isn't the right message. But yeah, I asked some questions about how to best do it. So I'm trying to organize a meeting where I can speak with them more and kind of explain our unique situation and figure out how to best collaborate. In addition, I'm also working on a project to curate all the resources about optimism so people can learn all the helpful things without having to go through it all like I did. And yeah, I've been working on organizing that in Notion. I also participate a lot in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat. Marco shared a lot of interesting thoughts, so I responded with some more interesting thoughts related to what he's talking about with shelling points and the design of the Eden Fractal software and so forth. And then I also I responded to Gudasol about jitsi. I asked him what he thought about jitsi, and then there's a lot of comments. I shared some comments here, and then I shared the link to the new episode of the Eden Fractal where we shared that. I also gave Rosmari did most of this, but I gave some feedback on it, and we also worked together on the title and the way to write it and stuff like that. So we worked on that for maybe an hour or so just to get it all working well. And then I also created a Notion project for exploring jitsi improvements too, because it's been something we discussed over the past weeks. But similarly, I figured out how to make Notion projects that we can share with the entire community. So I figured out some of the permission systems and how that works, and then started putting together some projects so we can organize thoughts about jitsi and more. So that's another thing, both about jitsi and about general organization, because we can use this project system for other things as well, and perhaps with Charmverse. I've also been collaborating with Vlad and Jorge and Duane and Mateas made a proposal to Eden on EOS for the fractal tools. So I've been following and helping with that. I read their proposal, and I've been continuing to curate resources about this next version of the app that Vlad is building, along with Mateas and Lenar. So I'm continuing to curate that on the tool site. And I checked in with Vlad, said I was looking forward to it and stoked about it. And then I also participate a lot in the Msig discussions. This is the article that I wrote several months ago, and it's very long and detailed. I encourage people to learn about it if they want to learn more about the Msig, but I kind of just cited this a few times and showed the nice picture. And then I shared some more detailed chats, and I put together a spreadsheet. Actually, I should show that. I should open it up. But yeah, I shared some more detailed chats or more detailed messages in the chat to kind of help lead this initiative and help respect the requests of the former signatories, and to be able to move on this topic so we can discuss other things soon other than the Msig. And yeah, I put together this table that was mostly put together. Rosmari did a lot of the work, but I added like 8 weeks or so and did it manually, so we can now calculate the average respect, or not the average respect, but the average rank over the past 13 or 26 weeks. That might be helpful for signals games or for figuring the best decision for the Msig and so forth. And then I made a quick proposal, draft proposal to get the conversation started about the Msig configuration. And then I followed up with Perry as well and read the chats, provided a bit more details and things that might be helpful there. And then I also hosted the Fractalien Worlds meeting too. I've been volunteering to do this for the past 6 weeks or so, and I've been saying a couple times that I need to, well, anyway, I don't have to go into detail, but I volunteered to host it once again, and there was like 8 or 9 people who joined, so it's really cool to see everybody rallying around Fractalien Worlds. And I haven't worked on the branding lately, but still thinking about it, still thinking about growing in the future, but mostly focused on the optimism stuff right now. And then I also helped Space Wrangler Joe. I attended the Aquadac meeting last week. Actually, this isn't a contribution for this week, but yeah, I helped Space Wrangler Joe with that. I think after the Eden Fractal meeting last week, I'm not sure, but just provided some guidance. Space Wrangler Joe is obviously leading that initiative, but I'm just helping however I can to spread the fractal, spread the fractal spirits, spread the fractal joy. Spread the fractal joy. Yeah. Anyway, that might have been longer than 5 minutes, so I can wrap it up there. Happy to answer any questions if you like. Apologies if it went too long, but yeah, it was really interesting stuff. So I was happy to share and hope you all enjoyed. And if anybody has any questions for me or anybody else who shared their stuff or any comments, then now's a great time to share. Any thoughts, anybody?
I just wanted to mention, because you've brought it up many times now about the compensation, and I just want to remind you, you're actually the decision maker in the social games budget. So you're the one who decides if that's done or not with the social games budget. So might want to consider that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I didn't really mean to. I don't mean to keep harping on it. It's just been in my head, and I've been thinking about what the best way to do it is. So I'll keep that in mind, and I'll think about it. And looking forward to collaborating more. Does anybody else have any thoughts that you'd like to share, or shall we proceed into fractalgram? I also need to trigger the start event button too, so I'll do that now. And then also I proposed the Msig too, but I forgot about that.
Does everyone on here know how to do the fractalgram?
Maybe, I don't know. If anybody doesn't, or if anybody wants to volunteer to do it, that would be cool.
Because it was really cool when Rosmari just shared her screen, because then it's part of the video and it just shows, boom, here, this is what you do. And you kind of don't even need to explain. You can just see it on your screen. You know what I mean? Sorry to butt in.
No, not butting it at all. Thanks, Joe, for sharing. I think everybody here knows how to use it. I'm not sure if anybody doesn't, then if anybody wants a little training lesson, then would be happy to walk you through it. And yeah, I agree, Joe, that's a cool way to do it. So I can do it, or if anybody else wants to do it, I just have to, I realize I haven't triggered, I have to trigger 2 buttons to enable everybody to vote. So I'm going to take care of this first, and then I can set that up. Or if anyone else wants to set up in the meantime, then that would be cool. And we can share the screen to make it more visually engaging for the audience.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
Do you want me to? Do you guys want
It's
me to?
totally up to you. I'm happy to do it as well.
Okay, I can do it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So I went to fractalgram.web.app. If you haven't linked your mobile device's Telegram to desktop, it gives you instructions on to do that, which are to go to settings on your phone and to link devices, and then scan the QR code, and then disappears the menu. And then from here, this pencil, you have to create a new group, and then Either way, you can add whoever you have in your contacts that is in the group, in the breakout room. Or if you don't have them as contacts, then you have to add them to your contacts. If not, you can send the link, the group link in the chat on Zoom, so that it acts as an invite link, and participants from the group can just click there and go into the newly created group for this breakout room. So I'm gonna add them. Douglas, Lisa, Jeff. Yes. And then I click on this arrow, and then the group name is EF65 because this is the episode. And we can as well name which room we're in. I think we're in room 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then let's create the group. Then I message everyone. I can see here who's in there. It's like Douglas, but maybe he has a permission that permission settings in Telegram that you can only join through the link. So for that, I clicked here to copy the link, and I'm gonna share it in the Zoom chat. Okay, and now Douglas has joined too. Now I can start the process with just hovering over this here and asking for account prompt. We are on EOS blockchain. We're using EOS blockchain account, so just it has selected as it's selected as EOS by default, and then everything else is pre-populated. And now everyone has to respond to this message with their account. Great. Now, first, always have to make sure that everyone's response is there before triggering the next action. And everyone's response is here. Now, the next step is to go about starting the poll for level 6, which is the highest rank. It's pre-populated again. You don't have to do anything. It will change. Just click create.
Well, thank you very much, Rosmari, for the live tutorial. Also doing some training that maybe we can edit and publish for everyone else out there as well. So appreciate it. Also appreciated Douglas coming in with Snoop giving the thumbs up, and Joe's comment made me laugh as well about the ARP fractal meeting. Nice.
Do we have to count, by the way?
Count what?
Sort of 1, 2, 3 for voting?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay. Well, you can see here as in real time whoever has voted already. And unless a person votes, they wouldn't be able to see the results, the real time result.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if everyone else has voted. Okay. There's some more votes happening. Hmm. It's pretty split up. So 40% for Joe, 40% for Dan, and 20 for me. I can see 2 out of 5 won, 2 out of 5 people. And oh, and the results are here. So if in such situations we have to ask why people are supporting whoever they're supporting, and if anyone wants to switch their votes or want to get more information out of the nominees, or if anyone has any questions in general.
All right. Thank you, Rosmari. And yeah, I suppose that leaves the floor open if anybody would like to share their thoughts about why they voted for who they voted for and make their case, advocate either way, or does anyone else want to share? I could share a bit about my vote, but I don't know if anyone else wants to go first.
Okay, I can go first. Well, I voted for Joe because first of all, I don't know if or I don't remember Joe being selected recently as level 6 or ever, maybe. But I would really like to encourage Joe to keep on delivering. And I've seen this kind of chart going up with productivity, and he's increased his productivity like I don't know 10 times more, even more, and he still exceeds my expectations every time. And I want to encourage the fractal with Upland to keep on going, and best of luck there. And thank you for attending the meetings and keeping track with all initiatives, and being a huge supporter as well as of Aquadac and in the Fractalian worlds and even Fractal, and being a great guy in general and easy outgoing, and also providing feedback too. So there's a lot of reasons here, but which have also been collected as the weeks go by. I've just seen also consistency, which I really like and appreciate.
All right. Thank you, Rosmari, for sharing. And I'm open to voting for Joe. I think I voted to rank Joe 6 last week or 2 weeks ago or something like that. And I think you end up being 5 or 4 something that week. But yeah, I also really appreciate what Joe's doing too. And that's all great points. I love, Joe. I think he started joining Eden Fractal meetings like maybe 5 months ago or something like that, 6 months, maybe like the 30th or 40th. And Joe's like, we've had a few discussions just between us where at first he was learning and asking questions, and now he's at the point where he's like thinking about and seems like pretty seriously planning out starting Fractal with Upland. And Upland's a huge game with a huge community and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm happy to vote for Joe. It looks like the votes are changing in real time now too, as you can see. One of the beauties of Fractalgram. So it looks like Douglas Gudasol changed to Joe. And I guess with Joe too. I voted for Rosemary because I think that she's doing an awesome job. That was a great speech too. Thanks, Rosemary, for sharing that. And I also really appreciate you doing all the work with the show notes and videos and all the other stuff that we've been collaborating on. But yeah, it looks like Joe just so has consensus. So I will switch over to Joe as well. And thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it. And very, very stoked to collaborate with you more.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I'm totally blushing over here.
And thank you for encouraging me to give a demo on Fractalgram too. I hope it's helpful.
Yeah, totally. Good job.
Thank you. And congrats, Joe. And now over to level 5. 3 out of 5 people have voted for them. Oh, what? Someone just changed their vote?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I was like, okay. I think Dan would want me to change it this way.
Oh,
But then I
no.
think someone else changed right at the same moment.
It's totally up to you, Joe. Don't count into what I want too much. I mean, I guess you can vote it however I want, but uh, I'm happy to receive votes too. Or Rosemary, I think she's doing excellent work. Also, part of me wants to vote for Gudasol too, because I know he's doing really awesome work for Aquadac, and I really appreciate him hosting that for a while and joining us here. I know he's doing lots of super cool stuff, and he's a busy man, so I appreciate him doing all that work. And he hasn't gotten that much respect because he hasn't been at many Eden Fractal meetings lately. So I hope he can join more. That'd be awesome, and we really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm happy to go. It looks like Rosemary has consensus now. It looks like everybody switched, so I'm happy with that.
Oh,
Sounds good.
thank you again.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Maybe it's because I'm also doing the fractalgram. I don't know.
I had a feeling that what you were about to say, you started saying something like you decided not to, like when you first started, you're like, and that can also be, I don't know, and I feel like you're gonna say that can also be one of your contributions, something like that. Maybe I'm wrong about what you're gonna say there. Maybe you don't remember, but I mean that does help. You know, that is a contribution that you're doing live in front of us. So maybe you're playing the game a little bit and impressing us all with your with either fractalgram tutorials.
Maybe it's about the presentation, I guess.
Okay, cool.
Level 4. Hmm. Gudasol? We're waiting for you to vote. Okay. Where else the vote again? 40%, 40-40 for Gudasol and then, and 20% for Lisa.
We'll also remind, by the way, we have 8 minutes left before the breaker ends, so we need to come in about this level 3 and level 2 and the delegate as well. Looks like some people switched their votes, and now I have 3 votes. Gudasol, it looks like he's typing another maybe more Snoop, perhaps, or maybe he's typing something. Looking forward to seeing. He said he's been doing a lot for Aquadac, and I've been doing a lot for Eden Fractal. That's true. I'd say contributions to Aquadac are also helping Eden Fractal. I really appreciate, by the way, Gudasol and Rosemary's podcast, the first like 5-10 minutes. That was super cool, talking about how Eden Fractal was an inspiration and stuff. That was like a month or two ago, so that was kind of a while ago. But yeah, I really appreciate what Gudasol is doing with Aquadac. I also have been doing a lot, and I appreciate the respect. Also, Lisa too. She's doing incredible work too, from week to week too. So it's really difficult because everybody's doing amazing work, really. So, but we're here to have fun and just share some respect. Everybody gets respected. So happy to go either way.
It's kind of interesting how everything's so interconnected. Like a lot of our groups are intersect, and it's kind of difficult to decide. Yeah, but that's awesome that we're all doing so much. So that's cool.
Right? We're working together.
Yeah.
But in a way, we also have individual projects, but we're also working together.
Mhm.
Yep. It's one of the beauties of the process and the Eden Fractal. It's also been really cool too to see, like, for example, Jorge and Vlad, like they're like working, and Duane, they're working really hard on this proposal and stuff. So yeah, everybody's really working together well. So anyway, I encourage anybody, if anybody wants to consider changing the vote to Gudasol, then I'd be happy to give more respect to Gudasol. I think what he's doing is amazing and super excited about it. I'm also happy to switch to myself too for consensus. Either way works really, and I think, like we said, we're all doing great, and we're all getting respect either way. But we do have to come to consensus pretty quick on these. So, is anybody interested in sharing any more of their thoughts about why they voted for who, or switching either way?
I'm voting with you.
You're voting with me. Okay, well, it seems like Joe is doing that too. Maybe some people are proxying their vote. Anyway, Douglas said switch to Dan.
Well,
So
you made a compelling case, you know.
that's right. Yeah. Well,
The others don't believe you.
Douglas said switch to Dan. I could say switch to Douglas back, but also I'm happy to do it. I have been doing a lot for Eden Fractal, and I am, putting a lot of work into this too. So I suppose somebody switch to Douglas.
Just unvoted.
Who unvoted there? Oh, was that you,
Joe.
That was
Joe?
me.
Okay.
That was me. I'm like, okay, I had walked inside to fill up my coffee and couldn't see what I was like, okay, I'll help consensus here, but
By
I'm
the way,
Okay.
who wants
fighting
to
it.
be a
Sorry.
delegate? While we're at it, who
Oh.
wants to be a delegate?
Well, let's take it one step at a time, Lisa. Let's go. Let's do that
Get rid-
afterwards, probably.
Okay.
I'm a
Okay, I'm
Gemini.
going to switch my vote to them. The way
Okay.
to do this is to right click, retract vote.
And we got an
Vote.
extra tutorial. So Gudasol, your wish did not get fulfilled there. They we switched to you. So thank you, Gudasol.
Happens to me all the time.
Well, thank you for your vote of confidence, and I hope that what we're doing there does reflect and help us out here at Eden Fractal as well.
Sounds great. You're welcome, and thank you, Gudasol.
Okay.
All right, Dan, this
voting.
one's for you.
Okay. Or is it for Lisa?
Oh God, no.
Oh God. Yes.
I'm doing it just to throw it off for a minute.
We love that
All
about you.
right.
You might want
Look
to
at me
figure
and
out
Dan
your
are on the
delegate
same
while we're
team.
doing it.
What was
Me
that,
and Dan are
Lisa?
Team Lisa. Look at that. Sorry.
No, I can't be delegate. I can barely get through a meeting.
Okay, and it looks like Lisa has 3 of 5, so we still don't have consensus yet.
Good
Would
luck.
anybody like to share their thoughts about why they voted who they voted for?
Pretty sure Douglas and I aren't going to change our votes.
All right, let's see who's voting where.
Well, it looks like somebody else changed, or maybe not. Mine is just taking a lot of load. Yeah, I mean, Lisa's doing incredible work, and I really appreciate it. So for me, it's kind of difficult to vote for myself because I just love what everybody's doing. I'm also working beyond full time on this, so I appreciate the respect. I've also earned a lot of respect. I know that Lisa's doing incredible work, so really, I'm happy either way. If anyone wants to advocate either way, then sounds good.
Yeah, but you're doing more in Eden Fractal than I'm doing.
This is true, I
Cool.
think. I mean, I'm focusing a lot more, but also you're doing great work, Lisa, like, expanding with all these different communities and alien worlds that can use fractals and promoting and stuff like that.
Well,
but-
some weeks I do more than others. This week you did more.
Okay. I suppose for
Alright.
simplicity, then I'll just change my vote for myself because we only have 2 minutes left and we need to come to
Me too.
consensus. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
It's all about waiting.
And now we have to get a delegate. Who wants to be a
Oh,
delegate?
now you're ready. Now you're ready.
Now we're ready. Exactly. That's the process.
Who wants to be a delegate?
That's the question. I'm going to open up the delegate spreadsheet.
And the delegates,
That's very
thanks, Jim.
helpful.
And the delegates need to commit to being here, but what else do the delegates need to commit to doing?
Right now, that's the main thing. We just asked that delegates will be here for the hour after the breakout rooms at each Eden Fractal meeting for the next 4 weeks, or next 3 weeks, including this week. And also we asked
You
that
have to vote
vote
on proposals.
yeah, they vote on proposals. So basically keep up with the discourse going on in the community, read the Telegram chats and so forth, and listen or participate in the meetings so that you can know what's going on and be an informed voter. For example, today we're planning to make a proposal for the Msig. So for anybody who's a Msig or who's a delegate, we'd appreciate if they're able to follow along and make an informed decision on who is best suited to be in the Msig.
Well, if nobody else volunteers, I will.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Joe. And yeah, just to be clear, who is delegate? So Council 44 is ending, so that one's not there. Me and Rosmari were elected as councilors in Council 45 3 weeks ago, so that will be expiring next week. And I think yeah, that's it actually. So yeah, that looks like it's it. I'll be a delegate for one more week. So I'm happy to elect Joe, or I could throw my hat in the ring as well. But yeah, if Joe wants to be a delegate, then I'm very happy to elect Joe as a delegate, and I can run again next week.
Okay. No, to
Oh,
be
and it
with-
looks like the vote's
Yeah,
already in.
either way, but I'd say you're definitely better at reviewing the Telegram than I am. Telegram's still a little bit of a weakness for me.
You're already elected.
Well, Joe, do you think you'll be
Oh.
able to?
Too late.
Well,
Can't take it back.
Yeah, we actually are a minute over, so we probably should go back in the breaker room. So
Okay, yeah, no, I will. I will use this as a catalyst to make me get on in Telegram more. There you go.
okay,
You're definitely worthy, Joe. You're definitely worthy.
sounds great. Well, thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate it a lot. And I see Rosemary's doing the last thing. If you want to guide us through, I'll also hit the closed breakout room, so we'll have 60 seconds to wrap it up. I just want to say thanks everybody for the great meeting and all of the amazing work.
Thank you.
Rosemary, do you want to finish up your little tutorial with fractalgram and just explain what you did there, or any other comments
Yes.
before we wrap it up?
I click consensus results, and then this link popped up. It was already pre-selected in Fractal meeting, and I click next. And then this message appeared, and now this message populated automatically all the selections that we did with the rankings and alongside the count names. And the results can be submitted through clicking here, which would open a Eden Fractal web app link, which is a front end, which looks like that. And we can submit our consensus through here. Submit.
Excellent. Thank you, Rosemary, and thank you all.
Thank you.
See you in community room. Hello, hello. Welcome everybody back to the community room. Hope that you all had a fantastic time in your breakout rooms. And if anybody wants to share a quick hello or share any thoughts on top of your mind now about your breakout room or anything else real quick, then feel free. Otherwise, we'll be ready to go and discuss the topic on the agenda, which is the updating the Msig within the next couple minutes. And we can also jump into it right now. I was just pulling up one last window because I kind of wanted to show everybody what was going on in the Telegram chat.
Joe, were you able to submit?
I'm not sure. I did enter the start button, so everybody should be able to
I
submit.
was able to.
Okay,
yeah, I was
and
able
everybody should have 2
Oh,
hours
sorry.
to do so now.
I didn't realize I was muted. I have to do it on desktop, so I have to
Oh,
send a link to Discord, open it on Discord, and then push it on chain. So it just takes me an extra minute.
okay. What's
Cool, cool.
Is it because of the Wombat thing? Wombat wallet on mobile?
Yeah, that was happening to me. Okay. Signing in.
Okay. Well, let me know if, in case you have issues and it doesn't go through.
Awesome. I'm about to do it. I don't know who made the "yeah baby push it on chain" thing. It sounds like a Patrick thing, but I totally love it every time I go to vote here.
Yep, you're right about that, Joe. Okay, cool. Well, I think we're ready to go into the topic on the agenda then. And so I will share my screen and show you all what we have on the agenda. about updating the community account permissions. I introduced this a little bit beforehand. If anybody has anything else you want to say, feel free to jump in now. But otherwise, I'll proceed to share the agenda. All right, cool. So edenfractal.com/welcome, like I said before, that is where we're building the welcome guide, and that where we have the Cagendas outline about how it works, so people can propose topics on consortium. And I think I might have the wrong window open up right now. Actually, I might be sharing it, but this works well enough. T65, updating the community account permissions. As far as I see, this is the only topic that has been proposed. I proposed this. It's following up from our discussion last week. So this will be what we discussed now. If we have more time, we can discuss other topics too with the topics game, but this might take the full time to discuss. Who knows how long? Last time we discussed like an hour and a half or so. And I figure we didn't have a firm proposal created. That was the plan as of last week, but I just figured I'd throw up this topic for updating the community account permissions. And then if we can come to consensus about a proposal here, then we can create and vote on the proposal on consortium during the Cagendas game in the next hour or so, or next 55 minutes. And yeah, basically what I was trying to do, I was trying to bring up Telegram in the browser because there's so many great posts from Noam and Jorge and Tadas and everybody, but I wasn't able to get fractalgram running here, and I don't know how else to get it in the browser without just loading a bunch of different tabs in my browser. So basically I just have a message I shared here and a message that Tadas shared here. We both shared kind of some introductory proposals. Perhaps actually first I'll just real quick go into the Eden Fractal chat and just find the post where I actually did propose it, because I made a proposal, like kind of a draft proposal here. Yeah, I'll paste it right here so people can see. This is kind of a recap about, in case anybody's not following along, but I think everybody knows at this point, this was prompted by CAC and Patrick wanting to be removed from the Msig, and they asked to do it promptly. And then we discussed it for an hour and a half last week. At the end of the meeting, if anybody didn't see that, Rosmari did share the video, so you can watch the video to see the full discussion. Towards the end of the meeting, Jorge had suggested that we perhaps calculate the amount of respect that each community member has earned in the past 13 weeks and use this to help determine who will be the owner of permission in Msig. And then I volunteered to help with this. I wrote some more details here, and I put together a spreadsheet. I don't know if this is the way that we want to do it. I know that Tadas proposed something, so we can hear from Tadas, and he might have had a different method. And I don't think Jorge's here. Maybe he has something going on. But if anybody else does want to use this, it's kind of maybe a helpful feature. You can now go to sort to see who's received the most respect, or the average ranking. Actually, it's not weighted by respect, but rather ranking over the past 26 weeks. You can see that rank here, and also 13 weeks you can see here. It might not be totally accurate because I did it manually, but I think it should provide a helpful guide about who's been participating and so forth, as well as you can see attendance and so forth. We want to make sure that whoever's on the Msig will be willing to respond and so forth. Two of the previous people on the Msig currently aren't responding, or haven't spoken with them in like the past year or so. So that's something we can consider. I also said feel free to request edits to the spreadsheet if you'd like to make any changes if we do want to use this for that or any purposes. And then I had made a I think I didn't pull it up properly here, but I'd also made a draft kind of proposal or following Msig configuration, where I basically said, well, maybe we have 8 people on the Msig. That was kind of what we had was a consensus, it seemed like, because there was 8 people who volunteered to do so. 5 people said they were willing to do it, and 3 people said they were willing to do it if they wanted to, when there was 8 people at the meeting at the end of last week's meeting. So that was kind of what I went with. And then we had a wait of 1 for a time delay that I just figured we can keep doing. I figured it might be a good idea to increase the amount of people in the Msig, being that there are more people who are willing to do it. And one of the things that's concerned me a little bit is with only 4 to 6 people, if 1 or 2 people stop participating, then it can be difficult to change, whereas 5 of 8 would make it a bit easier to change things than 4 to 6. So that's an idea that I know Tadas also recommended or suggested 4 to 6, and he shared a lot of details here too. So I'll share Tadas's post here, and he suggested Noam, Vlad, myself, Tadas, Jorge, and Marco, since these were the people who voted first in a poll that he shared. I think there was 1 or 2 more people who voted there too, but these were the first 6 people who voted. And he also shared more details that Tadas can share about how this is same permission structure as the current configuration, and lots of other ideas. And then, yeah, I wanted to scroll through, because I have on my other screen my Telegram, where there's like lots of great posts from Noam and Tadas and Jorge about what the best do. But I just encourage everybody to check it out. I won't be able to share it on the screen right now easily, but I encourage people to check that out to follow more of the discussions in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat at t.me/Eden Fractal to see all the great suggestions from Noam and Perry and Jorge. And thanks so much for all the ideas. And then as well, you could see the video from last week and the show notes that Rosmari put together with some highlights as well as timestamps too, where you can learn more about this. Lastly, before I open it up, I'll just say, I think everybody here is familiar with this, but I have an article at edencreators.com/Msig where you can learn a lot more about Msigs in general, what they are, how they work, community accounts, sharing permissions, basically super helpful feature, as well as our past proposals. We've had like 5 full meetings discussing this. It's been kind of a big topic for Eden Fractal, and there's been several proposals. This article is a bit outdated, but it has pretty well organized information about the current Msig configuration and what is an Msig and stuff like that. And then all the proposals that we had in week 7, 27, 35, and all these things. You can see the current Msig configuration. We never wind up updating this, but this has a overview of the active and custom permission, and the owner has 6 people. But we went over that last week, so I don't need to go over it too much. But just for anybody who's not familiar, wants to check out more with the Msig, this edencreators.com/Msig. It's quite a detailed resource where you can learn more. Anyway, our consensus last week was to try to come to consensus about the owner permission this week, and currently we have 2 kind of, well, I don't know if this is draft proposal or this is Tadas' full proposal, but this is Tadas' proposal here, and then you can see my draft proposal here, and perhaps we can open up discussions here. If Tadas, maybe you want to introduce, I didn't read all the stuff you wrote here. I mean, I read it privately on my own, but I didn't read it out loud, so I don't know if you want to go over some of the things that you mentioned here, if I should keep it up on the screen, or if you want to just take it away, I can stop the screen share. Perhaps I'll ask Das first. What do you suggest that we do? How do you suggest that we proceed?
Yeah, maybe keep my message on screen and I will try to explain it.
Okay, sounds great.
First, maybe go up to the beginning of the message.
Okay, sounds good. And by the way, also too, I can easily pull up specific links to other messages too. So if you wanted me to share any of the other messages that you shared for the screen, or any of the discussions between you and Noam and Perry and so forth, then I can also include additional links on the screen, and just feel free to let me know.
Yeah. So maybe it would be useful to now click that that poll message I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so on Thursday last week, I created this poll, and my idea was to take people who voted in this poll into the owner permission. Basically, the logic is that if you vote yes on this, it means that you follow Eden Fractal channels, and you care enough to vote promptly enough on this. And yeah, so this was my idea to figure out who to include in the owner Msig. And yeah, my logic here is that I want to keep it simple. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this. So yeah, and I came up with this proposal to use 5 out of 6 with delay permission with weight of 1, so we would need at least 4 people signing, and then we would need to wait a couple of days, or you could have 5 people signing, then the execution could be immediate. Yes, I saw Joe also voted in that poll. We could include him as well, but I think number 6 is good if we want to keep if we want to use the 2/3 plus 1 logic, the threshold. And then if we choose 6, if there are 6 total people, then 2/3 plus 1 is 5. Whereas if we choose 7, I think it's 6. Anyways, and the 5 out of 6 is what the current owner permission is having. So I'm thinking that to keep it simple and just go with 5 out of 6. I know a lot of people want to include more to be inclusive, but I don't see this as some kind of benefit to be in with Msig. This is nothing but responsibility and extra work in case something needs to be done. So I don't see it as something that someone should feel bad for not being included here. Yeah, so that's my logic for creating this proposal.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Tadas, for putting in all this thought to figure out how to best design it. Really appreciate it. And I agree, keeping it simple. I think that's really helpful and really important. Also, I did just wind up just sharing my Telegram screen, so I could just briefly show, like, Perry asked some questions about the proposal I made, about why the active delay is longer than the owner, and what is the Morpheus permission. I answered that, and people could see it, and we could discuss these more if we want to, but yeah, perhaps we can keep it quite simple here. I see Noam raise his hand too, so I'll pass on to Noam in a second, but I'll just share just for a little bit of a high-level overview. You can see some of the comments here from Noam and Perry and so forth, as well as answers. So I just wanted to give people a little bit of a context for that. And yeah, maybe I'll stop sharing my screen. And I see Noam has his hands up, so pass it on to Noam, and curious to hear your thoughts.
I wanted to add to something Tadas said, or expand on it. When what he said was that maybe a smaller number makes sense, and I think that's a good point, because imagine you had 18 people. The other half of them would be less active than the most active 6, which would mean that it would be a lot harder to get a 2/3 majority. So keeping it small to people who are active is a good consideration. I think it's important, but I also think that we need to look at respect. We need to somehow balance. We can't take, just because somebody is active, that was active in the last 2 weeks, if they're not high on respect as well, that makes us more vulnerable long term. And when we're dealing with the owner permission, the whole community can get hijacked. And we can always recover by forking, but it's not something we want to expose ourselves to. So I think that the long-term respect needs to be accounted for, but I think it's also right that we should keep it to a smaller number of active members. And what he says about everyone on the list, it's a responsibility, it's a burden. So let's not put more burden than we have to when it actually doesn't gain us much. Yeah, that's what I had to add.
Thank you, Noam, for sharing your insights. Really appreciate it here, and all the great stuff in the chat too. And I see Perry has his hands up, so now I can pass on to Perry.
I see that we have 2 issues. One of them is, how do we construct the Msig? That's one issue. And then the other issue is, how do we actually decide who to vote on, who to place in that Msig itself? So those are 2 separate issues. My first thoughts are that I'm asking myself, why would we be using the delegates in some way to decide that? And the other thoughts about the Msig, I have to say that I'm not fully educated on it. I didn't find anything on like EOS support on it. Maybe my browser wasn't tuned into it. Maybe their SEO isn't publishing to the search engines very well. I don't know exactly why, but I wasn't really able to find a lot of information, current information, some 2018 articles, 2019 articles. So I'm looking forward to reading your your page, Dan, that looks like it has more resources on it. The other thing is that I mentioned that I was confused about why the owner permission had a lesser delay, and that I thought that the owner permission should have a greater delay. And now, thinking it again and listening and reading some of the comments, I think I've reversed that. I'm asking myself, why should the owner have any delay? Why shouldn't they immediately be able to execute their will? So, maybe they have 0 delay on the owner, and maybe there's 3 days on the active.
There is a 0 delay on 5 out of 6 in the owner. The delay is only if you want to do it with 4.
Okay, I see. Okay. Now, okay, so let's talk about 5 out of 6. If it's 5 out of 6, I mean, and we lose somebody, lack of interest, and then lose somebody else with a car accident, we're in trouble.
But if that happens, we can afford to wait a 3-day delay before we add 2 other people to replace them.
Okay, car accident, lack of interest, and he went backpacking for 3 weeks. I don't know.
Well, if he went backpacking for 3 weeks, then somebody would know about it and we won't replace them. And if it's just one, then we'll have to wait 3 days. You're right. If we happen to get an attack on those 3 days, on the active permission, the thing is, the active permission, there's only so much it can do. Especially since we don't have funds right now.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else, the owners can reverse in 3 days. It's actually, if somebody were to do an attack with an active permission, that later gets reversed by the owners, they're exposing their
malice.
Their malice. In a way, that's a good thing. You want to have a good recovery mechanism, and the owner versus active is supposed to be a good recovery mechanism. So in a way, I would say your suggestion about the delegates, maybe at some point we'll make the delegates be the active, and then the owners are the watchdogs that make sure that if something bad happens, we can recover.
But it doesn't make sense now to decide such an important thing? No? I think it's hard. It's hard.
I think it makes sense to do it as soon as possible, but I don't think we have to do it from today to tomorrow. The owner we need to do as soon as possible, and then go on discussing it. Do the other one, just do it right. There's so many things going on at once, and the people asking to be taken off the owner are, have been waiting long enough.
What is the ASAP? What is the ASAP now? What is the ASAP? What needs to happen as soon as possible for the owner permission? I'm not privy to that information.
So the main reason why this discussion came up is because Patrick and CAC requested to be removed from the Msig, and Patrick is on the owner Msig. And so we wanted to do that to satisfy the request. They asked to be removed promptly. And then also just in general, it's been something that we have been kind of meaning to do, or I've been meaning to do. I've been thinking about it because we are in a situation right now where there's kind of like you described, there's 6 people on the Msig total, and there's only 4 people who I think would be willing to do it. Or I don't know, we could reach out to Felix or Chuck. I reached out to James this week, and he said that he wasn't he didn't need to be on the Msig still because he's not really participating. But he said Hopewell as well. But I think he's willing to sign a transaction to change it. But so the main reason why we're discussing is because Patrick has to be removed from it. But then also in general, like if we did have a situation where one person of the four, being me, Patrick, Vlad, and James, who didn't want to respond, then we're not sure if Chuck or Felix would respond. And so we want to also update that for the future so we'll be able to change it.
Okay, that sounds like a reasonable reason to change it, but I'm not sure if that is more important than getting it right and doing it in the correct way. I don't know why would we be voting for delegates, and this is not for self-interest. I mean, if I'm not on the vote, or that's not what I'm interested in. But I'm just saying, out of principle, why are we voting for delegates each week if for not this? I don't know why.
Well, this is one of the plans and intentions, Perry, that we would submit a proposal for delegates to vote on this week to change who the people in the Msig would be and what the configuration would be. I see Das has hands up, so I'll pass it over to Das. I also have some more thoughts I can share too, but first pass over to Das.
Yes, I don't know if I should try to answer Perry's question, the latest question, because I've been thinking a lot about this, and I've been planning to write an article which expand on this. Yeah, but basically it's like Msig. Msig controllers are the executive branch, and delegates are legislative. That's one way to look at it. Basically, delegates decide what to do, and those owners, well, not owners, it could be anyone, it could be active permission. It's up to them to execute. So they don't make decisions. The active permission does not make decisions. They just execute what's passed by the delegates. And I think this is better because in this, delegates vote during the meeting where all the discussion happens. Msig controllers, they don't have any kind of process to deliberate where they could be making decisions.
So you're trusting the delegates. You're trusting that some other group will execute what the delegates have decided.
Well, it
No?
has been working this way so far, and yeah, I have a couple of other protections in mind in if we go in the future down this way. But this is how I'm saying, this is how it has been working so far.
Yeah, but we're trying to improve it, I assume.
So
yeah, but I don't think that making delegates and Msig controllers the same group would fix, and it would bring other issues, I think.
Tadas, do you think that making delegates the active permission and having the controllers be the owner permission satisfy your concerns, or do you think delegates should be separate from both?
It's something to think about, but I think if we are starting discussions on how to improve it, I think we should first maintain what we have been currently using and discuss improvements later. So I would suggest just changing the owner permission right now, making any changes if needed afterwards.
Perry, does that answer your question about why we do the owner now and then do the rest of it right over time so we can reach consensus on it?
Well, let me ask it more directly. Tadas obviously is the person who's most affected by this, and I understand why. He's developing contracts and he wants to get stuff in place. What specifically are you looking to get in place, Tadas, that's interesting to you? That's really the question.
No, if I wanted, the way I would get this stuff in place, it wouldn't be through. I don't need Eden Fractal to deploy, to be able to deploy smart contracts. With Firmament, I would I would have I plan a different mechanism to deploy. So yeah, so the reason why I'm trying to basically do this promptly is because there are people who asked this for us, and the way Eden Fractal currently works is that it's the smart contract of Eden Fractal is its main property, and currently the owners of that property are not even participating in Eden Fractal. So for me, it's if you care about Eden Fractal, it seems like natural to be
agree,
concerned
that's not
with
more
this.
urgent.
No, personally, it's one other reason to change this is to make sure to make easier changes to Msig structure so that we can distribute funds more promptly. But for me, I don't really care about that, and for as far as I'm concerned, I would be fine if you wouldn't change owner permission soon. It's just that my thinking is that if we want to change it, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Just change it and move on to other topics.
Sounds good. Thank you to Tadas and Perry and Noam. I'll also ask too, especially when Gudasol had his hands up for a while. So if anybody else wants to share a comment, please raise your hand. It's okay to jump in every once in a while. We want to make sure that we respect the order, and especially when Joe's had his hands up while a couple people ask questions. After Joe goes, then I'll share some more thoughts about this, but first I'll pass it on to Joe.
Okay, so the thing that prompted me to raise my hand was the legislative executive branch comment from Tadas. I think from what I've seen in these groups, there isn't a lot of separation. So a lot of times where in that group, there's not going to be, Congress and senator that votes on the same thing. So the comparison's not really good because, like Dan's been a delegate here for quite some time. He's also on the Msig, so he's both sides, right? And not that that's a bad thing, but that's the reality of it. So to try to describe it as a legislative or executive doesn't really work for this situation. I do see what you're saying, but I think that these delegates will not only try to, and I think it's good because we're fairly small at this point, and I see the as it grows, needing to change. I also see the problem that Dan mentioned, where he's only got so much time maybe to get a hold of this one guy, and people can disappear. So I think that the kind of emergency situation type thing is a good thing to figure out for the future. Also, maybe we build in something where once the group reaches a certain level of number, in other words, of people who are contributing, involved, voting, etc., then we change the Msig. It's like a built-in trigger. Once we get to a certain number and the risk increases, then it's triggered where we do need to change it. But I think going it small, maybe not to overcomplicate things. But yeah, I could be totally wrong, but that's how I kind of look at it.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, Joe. I see Tadas has hands up, but he lowered it. I don't know if you wanted to respond to anything you said there, Joe, or Tadas rather. But I suppose if not, then I'll go ahead and share some of my thoughts here. So, I kind of want to zoom out, and as there's several things I wanted to respond to here. So, for one thing, just zooming out, I agree with the idea of keeping it simple. We're talking about potential upgrades and stuff. There's a lot of really exciting stuff we could talk about, and we've probably discussed Msigs for like 5 full meetings now. We discussed it fully last week, and I would like to just come to consensus about a quick decision. I think overall the stakes are pretty low. There's not funds in the account other than like 400 EOS, which should be depleted in a month. So I don't think people will try to like attack it or anything like that. Obviously, we don't want to be careful. It's the Eden Fractal account is what we use the whole time. But I don't think we need to overthink it, and we can always change it again later if we want to. But just to keep it simple, I'd love to move on to the topics. And I think people get a lot more value for growth going forward when we can make a quick decision here. I'm happy to go with Tadas proposal or mine, but there's a couple quick things that I'd like to discuss about that. Like, if we did go with Tadas proposal, then there's a couple of points I want to make and figure out first that I think might be better in my proposal, or maybe better in Tadas proposal, but just a couple of points that I'd like to just come to consensus about the best way to propose it, so we can get a quick proposal and finish it today. We have about 25 minutes left to pass the proposal. A couple other points too. Perry, thanks for checking out, doing some research. Yeah, I do recommend edencreators.com/msig to learn more about it. A lot of this stuff hasn't changed that much since it's been created on the EOS blockchain. So stuff from a while ago might still be up to date. The stuff that I posted there a couple months ago, it's all up to date as far as the general EOS Msig stuff. And it also includes a lot of the prior discussions where we've discussed many of these topics several times before already. So a lot of that's curated there as far as ways to go forward and stuff like that, as well as introductory videos in case people aren't familiar with Msigs. And yeah, there's no software to update signatories right now, like to have signatories, or no, there's no software to have it where delegates are on the Msig, and there's all sorts of ways that we can improve it in the future. But I think right now we should just keep our scope fairly limited, and then we can continue discussing how to refine it more in the future in Telegram chats and future discussion. But I'd say just getting this done so we can move on to other topics and then come back to Msig improvements in the future is probably the best way to proceed. As far as delay on the owner, I put that in because I feel like it's just helpful to have a few-day delay where you can think about things if you want to. That's how I originally designed it when I designed the first 6 people in the Msig. I think that works pretty well. It doesn't really matter that much, but I think it's a good thing to have. And then the idea was to have it where people in the active have a bit of a longer time so people can think about it. But all that stuff is kind of minor details. And then as far as I'm sorry, Joe, if you said anything that I'm not commenting on here, but feel free to reiterate if there's anything that I can help answer with that I forgot in the past few minutes. But basically, I think what's most helpful to focus on in just like limiting the scope to just resolving this so we can get the owner permission going. Things that I'm kind of not sure about with the DOS proposal is, one, I think Harry made a good point about the amount of people. I don't know if the idea, like 4 to 6 was how I originally created, because it was 2/3 plus 1, but I don't know if it's really important to have 2/3 plus 1. Like that's kind of like a standard in many of these things. But personally, from my experience, I've been kind of concerned for the past year that what happens if James Marcus doesn't respond or something like that. And I think 5 of 8 is easier to achieve than 4 of 6 because it adds 2 slots, but only requires 1 more person. And there were several people who were willing to do it. So that would make it so rather than having, say, 2 people who stop participating, then you're kind of screwed if 1 person more does. Now you have 3 people. So you have an extra buffer, basically. Just from my experience in that time, I kind of prefer to have it a bit easier to change it. So that's why my preference is for 5 of 8 rather than 4 of 6. I'm open to be convinced. I think that if everybody wants to go with 4 of 6, I wouldn't object to it. But I think it's probably wiser to have it where we have a little bit more leeway. And I don't know if it matters that much if it's 4 to 6, 2/3 plus 1. And then the other point that I had with Tadas's proposal was Marco had suggested that he could do so if needed, but he wasn't really thrilled to do so. Or like he said, he could do so if we want. Perry and Joe and Rosmari volunteered last week. I'm not sure how interested Rosmari is in doing it anymore. And Perry seemed more enthusiastic about doing it, and he's been participating more than Marco lately. So it might be better to have Perry on there instead of Marco. Also, Noam had said that, Noam's been very committed. I really appreciate that. He said he could go either way as well. So that's an option too if Noam wants to be on there or not. And also, we didn't ask Eric, Duane, and Lisa last week because they weren't here. So I would like to extend the opportunity if y'all would like to put yourself up for the running or volunteer to do so. Then I'd be happy to hear from you as well. So basically, yeah, I'd be curious if people have more thoughts about this, but I do think it's helpful to limit the scope, and specifically whether it's better to go with 4 of 6 or 5 of 8. My slight preference right now is for 5 of 8, but I see Tadas has hands up, so I'm curious about that. And then regarding who are the 6 or 8 people, whether the 6 people at the Tadas pros are best, or if we wanted to mix that up a little bit. Now I'll pass it on to Tadas.
Yeah, note that with every person, there is a probability that this person will stop attending and stop tracking Eden Fractal. So I wouldn't be sure that 5 out of 8 is better in terms of being sure that we will be able to do stuff, because while you are, well, you need 5 people to be active, and there are not a lot of active, like not, if we had like, I don't know, 50 people participating every week, then this difference would not make much difference. But yeah, just saying that it's maybe worth taking that into account. It's not just how many people can we ignore the Msig, but also by increasing the threshold, you're depending on more people on being active. Not sure if that made sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I feel like we're probably good either way. I think whether we do 4, 6, or 5, or 8, we probably fine. We also could do like 5 and 9 too, if we wanted to have it where we have more options, and that's more like 50%. But I don't really know if it's that big of a deal because there's not much at stake. So I'd be open to do that as well. But yeah, I'd be curious. I don't think it's really that big of a deal either way. And to me, it seemed like just 5 of 8 is basically use your cheese in 4 of 6. And it gives it a little bit more leeway, but your points make sense too. So I'm happy to go either way, really, I suppose. I see Joe has hands up, so I'm curious to hear from Joe, and then also curious to hear about that other point that I mentioned to Tadas about who's on there. And then it'd be great if we could just figure it out and approve it within the next 20 minutes, I think, as well. Joe?
Oh, okay, so I was just thinking, as like a backup for if people do disappear or something catastrophic happens, etc. Can we implement something where the delegates or whoever can make a proposal to remove someone from the Msig, and it would need a certain amount of the other people? In other words, if it's 5 out of 9 and we found someone's missing or it's not around, we can't contact them, can we do a proposal where we need 4 of the 5 on the Msig to approve a change and remove the 5th person that's disappeared? Does that make sense?
That's dangerous because it increases your vulnerability to attacks. There are better mechanisms for doing that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I understand. I didn't have the same response to it as Noam. I think that we're already doing that, basically. Maybe I got it confused, but I mean, that's how it is. Right now, the way it works is there's 4 to 6 people who can change the Msig, who are on the owner permission, and they can do so. And then Eden Fractal delegates can make recommendations for them to do so. So I think that's basically what you said there. And then in this new setup, we could do the same thing basically with this 4 to 6 or whatever its number is. And then the delegates could voice their opinions and recommend them to change it. But at the end of the day, right now, there's no software for the delegates to actually do it, but the delegates could elect to set up a different account or something like that as well. Does that answer your question, Joe, or did I misunderstand something?
Kind of, yeah, but mine was more like, okay, 4 out of 6 is what you need.
Mm-hmm.
You only have 3. You only have 3. The other 3 are literally gone. They all died in they sunk on the Titanic. What do you do? So it's, we can put a proposal that you only need 3 to update the Msig. That's what I would think. But Noam pointed out that maybe a vulnerability.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, in that case, for one thing, the EOS and Antelope Msig system is just set up to be programmatic. So if you wanted to do that, then you'd have to have a 3 out of 6 threshold rather than a 4 out of 6 threshold, for example. So you have to lower it in general. And then if you ever had the situation where 3 people couldn't keep participating, or whatever happened, then basically you just need to create a new account. That account would be not possible to change unless you're able to negotiate with the block producers or something like that. But we could always fork it too. That's something we've discussed. Like, all the data is public, so you could just take all the scores and the respect and everything like that, and you could create another account, call it Eden 2 Fractal or something like that, and it'd be basically the same. It would just have a different account name on EOS.
Gotcha.
Cool. Thanks for asking, Joe. If you have any thoughts, happy to hear it. Otherwise, I see Perry has his hands up. I'm going to pass it over to Perry.
When you talked to James, did he have any comments about or recommendations?
No, I didn't actually speak with him. I was planning to go visit his office hours on Friday, but I didn't get around to it. I'm going to try this week. I just sent him a quick message 2 days ago, and he said that now he doesn't need to be in the Msig. He's not participating, but he hopes all is well. He kept it pretty short.
Okay.
Duane, Lisa, Dan invited you to say something, and I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Also Eric as well.
Nothing to say.
Okay, cool. Well, Lisa or Eric or Duane, would any of you like to be on the Msig or be considered to be on the Msig?
No, I've got enough of my own at the moment to deal with.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Trust
Lisa.
all.
Eric, Duane, would you like to or be willing to be on the Msig with owner permission?
If required, but I'm kind of the same. I'm going to be traveling for a bit, and I'm kind of taking on more than I'm able to deliver. But if it's necessary, if you don't have enough, you can pencil me in.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Duane and Eric.
And I'm the same. If you need me to serve, I will. My focus is on the doctorate, so I want to get that out of the way because it's long and painful. But if you need me, I'm here.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I hope you enjoy the doctorate. It won't be so painful. And thanks, Duane and Eric, for volunteering to help if needed. Joe, I see you have your hand still up. I don't know if you still want to share something.
I don't. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm just standing away. I have the headphones on and I can't undo it. So just ignore my hand for a minute. If you don't
Okay,
mind.
it sounds good. We'll do so. Yeah, so I suppose first order could just be to decide on the Msig structure. I think maybe I still have a slight preference for 5/8, but I really don't mind either way. And Tadas makes good points, so I could really go either way. If Tadas, you want to sway everybody more, I'm happy to go. Or if any of you wants to just take a quick vote, I suppose 4 to 6 might just be simpler because that's what we did already. Or we could just discuss who would be on it first. I would say, well, I'm also curious too. I know Perry wanted to do so. He volunteered more enthusiastically than Marco did. So personally, I feel like Perry joins more of the meetings. He might be a bit more reliable than Marco, even though Marco's here from the beginning. I know Rosmari also volunteered last week, but then I was speaking with Rosmari and she said she had a lot on her plate too. So I'm not sure if Rosmari wants to do so. I'd be happy to hear from Perry or Rosmari if you want to clarify how interested or how willing you are to be on the Msig.
If Rosmari is interested, she's got both respect and attendance, so I'd love to see her on there.
I'm very happy to do it. I'm very happy to. I don't need to do it. I would trust this group. I feel like we're decentralized enough, and people are genuinely focused on decentralization. But I'm happy to do it. I would be proud to do it. So yes, I'm good.
I support that.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, Perry, for being proud and offering to help so much. And thanks, Noam, for also sharing your support for Rosmari as well. I don't know if Rosmari, you want to comment on it at all? I know we had a conversation about this before. So if you don't want to comment on it or anything like that, that's okay. But we'd be happy to hear from you if you want to share your thoughts, and all good either way. By the way,
I don't have.
you said no thoughts?
I have thoughts, but I'm fine without being in the MC. We can change that in the future, but for now, I'm fine.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Rosmari, for letting us know. And yes, we have 10 minutes left. Does anybody have any strong preference for anything really? Like, does anybody have any strong preference for the amount? Like, Tadas, do you feel really strongly about the 4 to 6? If you feel really strongly about it, I'm happy to just go with that.
I'm leaning towards 5 of 8 because a larger pool I think is better. I mean, right now we're a small group, but if we have success over at Eden on EOS, I think that the best days are ahead, given what's happening over at Eden on EOS, and more importantly, what's happening with Haifa. We're going to be getting attention, I think, and there's going to be more interest in DAOs, and I think we're only going to grow. So I'm okay with the larger number of 8 and 5, and changing an owner permission, or rather executing an owner permission. It's important. So I think 5 is okay. 5 people to get that done. So that's my preference. It wouldn't be the end of the world if it was 4 to 6, but that's my preference.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Perry. I'm curious if anyone else has any thoughts about this, or Tadas, if you have any thoughts about that, or do you think that we should, if you have a strong preference?
I'm to the 4 out of 6, but not very strongly.
Okay, thank you, Noam. Duane said he had to run to next meeting. Thanks so much, Duane. If you wanted to share any last words before you gotta go, then we'd be happy to hear from you. But otherwise, thanks for joining. Hope you have a great day.
See you, Duane.
See ya.
Adios.
All right. Lisa also said she had to run too, and we have 8 minutes left if we want to pass a proposal. We don't have a proposal made yet, too. So, I mean, we could save it for next week too, but also I don't know how much. I mean, that might help so we can come together with more proposals. And CAC and Patrick requested to be removed promptly, but I mean, they don't have to do anything, even if it does take us 2 or 3 weeks to do it. It's not like we're like putting more on their plate by just taking a little while. So if we wanted, then we could just. We don't have to make a decision right now. It might be kind of a rush to make a decision.
I want to move on.
I want to move on too. I mean, we could also just move on topics right now and just say, okay, we had a good enough discussion about it, and then come back next week and discuss it like with a proposal. Because right now, like we made kind of draft proposals, we didn't make a firm proposal, so it'd be kind of a lot maybe to just propose it. But we could. I mean, we have a pretty good proposal, and I don't know, maybe Tadas' proposal was firm, so. If we want to just go ahead and just vote for that as is, but I'm not sure. I feel like I would probably be more confident with Perry being in there than Marco, because Perry was more interested in joining the Marco. That would be like my one, just the one thing that I'd probably add to Tadas' proposal in order to make me want to approve it more. But yeah, also, I mean, we can move on topics and then just sign the transaction next week too. If you all wanted, we could wrap up the meeting early. I'm happy to do so. I have a lot of work to do. Or we could also discuss a couple other topics too, or we could just try to come to consensus real quick and just approve a proposal. Right now, the only person who's raised their hand is Joe, and I'm pretty sure that he's still just messing up by accident. So I'm kind of just talking a little bit to keep it going. But if anybody wants to share their thoughts, if anybody feels so strongly about this, then I'd be happy to hear about it.
Yeah, well, since they don't need. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Barry.
No. Please, Joe, go ahead.
I was going to say, since I agree we should move on, but I also think since they're not being asked to do anything, they're just sitting there. We don't really need to utilize it at this point right now. I think another week won't hurt, and because Lisa and Duane had to leave and they were really involved in the conversation and understand everything that we went through today, it would be nice to have them included in this vote. And I guess we can do it. They can do that offline.
I think we can make a proposal and let them vote offline. There's a lot of people that would be nice if they could vote offline.
Oh yeah, and then also I see Perry giving some thumbs up here. So the proposal we were planning to make. So to be clear, the only people who need to approve the proposal to actually change it are me, Vlad, Patrick, and James, and Felix and Chuck if they wanted to. But our plan was to have it this week with the delegates who have been elected each week here. And of those, Duane and Lisa are not currently delegates. Those delegates are Eric, Perry, me, Rosmari, Jorge, and Perry again, and Tadas and Joe. So if we wanted to, we have consensus. We have enough delegates right here to make this decision, and we do not need to wait. And I don't know, like it seemed like Duane and Lisa are probably happy either way. It doesn't seem like they're like I think they're probably trusting in us. So if we wanted, then we have all the people who we needed to make this proposal pass. All the delegates as we did decide last week. I see Perry has his hands up, but he lowered it. Do you want to add anything to Perry?
Okay, so now you're suggesting that the delegates decide this.
This is the plan. Yeah, I don't know if I communicated that clearly, but technically on EOS, the delegates don't have any say on EOS right now. It's just the 6 people on the Msig who are me, Felix, Chuck, Patrick, Vlad, and James. But the way we were planning to do it last week, Tadas suggested, well, let's have it where we have a delegates vote so that we're basically having like a consensus from the delegates for giving a recommendation. So that's the plan basically, where delegates would vote, and we do have enough delegates here to vote if everybody's in consensus to vote. And then we can create that recommendation that I can bring to James, and we could show to Patrick and everybody, showing we used the consensus process that we used to pass proposals here to approve this new Msig configuration.
And we'd be voting on only on a yay or nay of Tadas, or are there other proposals on the table?
The plan as of last week, which wasn't totally accomplished, was to make multiple proposals and then vote on the best one. Tadas made a proposal in Telegram. He didn't put it up on Consortium, and I made a draft proposal in Telegram. I didn't put up Consortium. So currently we don't have a proposal on Consortium, and the Eden Fractal process, you'd make a proposal on Consortium. So we only have 3 minutes to do that, so I don't know if we have time to do that right now. But that was the plan, to have multiple proposals and just vote for the best proposal. And also my proposal wasn't clear in who was selected. I just picked respected individuals, whereas Tadas picked 6 people.
I feel like we can go to next week and do it next week. I mean, I don't know. I'm willing to vote but I think it's better next week when it's, if we have let's say we have 2 separate proposals and there's a poll attached to each proposal. Maybe that's and then we just go from there. No? Is that what you suggested?
I think if we're going to go for the poll, we might as well have the delegates vote to accept whatever the poll has, and that way we don't have this discussion all over again next week with a different with different attendees, and we don't end up spending the whole month on just having this discussion over and over again.
That's great.
This is already the 2nd week.
That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Noam. Yeah. That's fine. So next week, so during the week, I guess we'll be looking. We'll have 2 separate proposals. Will they include both the structure and the actual people themselves? Will those be coupled together, or will those be separate aspects?
It can be done. It can be done either way, and it's up to us. I don't remember how we did it, and last time I have to review the EdenCreators.com's Msig article, and Perry, you said you were going to look into that. So if you want, you can review how we did it last time. I think we had a discussion about the most efficient way to do it, whether it's better to do it where we separate it. I think what we did was we just picked one big proposal last time, but I don't really remember. Basically, it's up to us though, however we want to define it. And yeah, my main request of everybody is just basically kind of repeating Noam. I'd really like to get this resolved so we don't keep talking about it. Personally, I've had kind of enough of the Msig because I wrote this huge article about it, and we've discussed a lot of this stuff multiple times and stuff like that. So I understand we have to change it, and I want to accommodate their request, but I'd love to move on to other topics because, you know, this account, it's just an account basically. And so I'd love to just, if we can propose it, and if anybody's willing to help, like Perry and Noam, I know last week you suggested or volunteered to help with it. I did kind of a lot of work. I worked for a couple hours on proposing this, but I've mostly been working on like growing the community, interacting with the Ethereum community and so forth. So I could put together a quick proposal, but if anybody else wants to take the lead on that and just like put a proposal up, then I would appreciate that a lot. And I would love if, like you said, Perry, we could just have one proposal or a couple proposals up that we can just decide really quick next week and get it out of the way in the first like 5-10 minutes so we can discuss other stuff.
Well, let me make a suggestion that could clear this up. There are two things that are right now up in the air. One of them is whether we want 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 8. I'll make a poll on just that question, and you can vote right now. I'm not a delegate, so the delegate can vote right now that whatever the poll comes up with, that's going to be approved, unless it's simpler to go with the 6 and you need programming to do the 8.
No, the programming is the same.
Programming is the same. Okay,
it's very easy
so
to do it. No programming
I'll set
involved.
up the poll, and whatever the poll decides, you can vote now that we'll accept the poll, and whether it's 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 8. Those are the only two options that are on the table right now. The other thing that needs to be somehow in a poll is who are the 6 or the 8 that we want to have on. And we need to come up with some kind of a poll or some kind of a formula for the respect, for a combination of respect and availability that would decide how we want to choose the 6 or 8 people that will be on there. And that has to be documented. We can't just do it orally, but we could document it with a poll. So let's think of some kind of a poll that we're going to use so we can make the decision next week.
I like that plan. I think that makes sense to separate those two decisions. I think we should decide the structure first and come to a decision first regarding the structure, and then decide who occupies it. I think that's
I agree, but I would like those to happen one after the other within the week. So by the end of the week, all we have to do is vote. We don't have to have this discussion over again.
okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Noam, for volunteering to help there. I really appreciate it, and that sounds like a good plan for me. I have some thoughts, but I see Tadas has his hands up. So if you want to go first, Tadas, then feel free.
Yeah, I was just thinking, why not, for example, 4 out of 7, like Rosmari suggested as well, or 4 out of 8?
Because I won't be able to sleep if it's not Fibonacci.
Well, 4-7 works.
The way I see it, the availability of people is a bigger risk for us than any one of us like trying to capture the smart contract, because it doesn't have anything valuable, and I don't think we have plans to add any considerable amount of funds.
Why would you
anytime soon?
It would also make it harder to get considerable amount of funds if it looks vulnerable.
There are, I think ENF used on one of their contracts similar, like very low threshold. I don't know if
I think a low
be very
threshold
well.
for the active formation or for Morpheus formation makes sense. A low threshold for the owner, even if we know that we're not we are a pretty cohesive group, but it makes us look vulnerable.
Yeah, but more important point from my perspective, we don't want Eden Fractal smart contract to ever have any funds. The way I see it, this makes us vulnerable from legal perspective. I'm looking for ways to fund in different ways.
Okay, good point.
How oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I think that's a good idea. Yeah, Rosmari, right? Or 4-7, which we didn't think about. So thanks for sharing that, Rosmari. And yeah, I think maybe I'll just advocate for 4 to 7 now. I haven't thought about it much, but it seems good. Basically, we keep it simple, and that kind of is like a compromise between them. And it makes it, I agree with Tadas, the bigger priority. There's not much at stake. So we just want to make sure that we have enough people to sign in case we want to change it, basically. And I think 4 to 7 is a nice balance. I could perhaps even just propose we just do the 6 people that Tadas suggested, but we had Perry on there. I know Joe volunteered too, and Joe seemed maybe he was more interested in them being Marco. Marco mentioned a couple of times that he wasn't super interested in being on, but he could if we needed to be. So I don't know if Joe is more interested or if anybody else we want to switch out that. But otherwise, maybe that's just a simpler solution. Just do 4 to 7.
Let's vote.
What do you say? Let's vote.
Yeah, let's vote. Can
Okay.
we vote throughout the week?
Well, the way that the Eden plus fractal process is formally defined is that there's an hour during breakout rooms in which the delegates can vote, and so those delegates need to be on there after breakout rooms, during this time, and that ended 6 minutes ago. So one other thing I want to say too is I think that we can just in general
make a proposal for next week.
Yes.
Be ready for it.
Yes, exactly. And that can go to what Joe was saying. I think maybe before we started recording, I'm not sure, or at some point. Yes. Joe was saying about getting proposals done sooner. So we could put that up, right now if anyone wants to just propose that. And I would be thankful if anyone wants to just propose it so we can move on. And then we could vote on it. I'm not too picky about it. One other point I wanted to make too is just that I mentioned how I'm kind of tired of the Msig discussion because it's not a huge detail and there's so many exciting things that I want to share with the community and so many exciting things that we could work on and so forth that's not the Msig related. So I'm excited to move on, but also I really appreciate everybody thinking about this and sharing such thoughtful feedback. It's been amazing to see all the feedback in the Eden Fractal Telegram chat and here, like I said, and I do think it is really valuable, not just in the fact that we're deciding the Msig, but there's also like a consensus building process, and that's kind of what we're doing. Like that's what I was gonna say, that's what we're in the business of, but it's not really a business right now, but like we're figuring out how to come to consensus better. And I think that in the future it made me think of signals. Like right now signals is a little bit awkward, it's kind of difficult to use, and that's not our main consensus process, but that could be potentially used to make this process simpler. Tadas shared some ideas and Perry and Noam shared some ideas about how we can improve this too. So I just wanted to add that like there's meta value in this and that we're learning how to build consensus better, and over time we can figure out better and better processes to come to consensus more efficiently. That's one of my concerns with the Eden plus fractal process, just that it's really great as a foundation, but the fact that we all have to come together for a meeting and pass a proposal within 1 hour, it makes it difficult to approve proposals. And especially with like complex things like multivariate decisions like this, who should be on the Msig, how much the Msig should be, like there's so many variables. It makes it rather difficult to come to consensus in just once throughout the week. But when we can vote more throughout the week, that could be more efficient in the future for some things. Although own permission, we probably want to also make sure that's not changed too often. So we want to keep that pretty simple.
If you guys are going to vote now, then I don't have to put up the poll about 4 to 6 or 5 out of 8 or 4 out of 7.
I think we should put up a poll to vote throughout the week.
So put all 3 of them?
You mean 5 out of 4 out of 6, 4 out of 7.
4 out of 7 or 5 out of 8.
Yes.
Those are the 3 options right now.
Yeah, let's do that in the next few days, and then
I'm going to do it in the next hour.
Are we not gonna?
Oh, I was just going to
ask the delegates. Whoever is on this call, it's a delegate to.
I don't think we need to. The delegates will be able to vote on a poll, and we will have input from more people. We will need delegates next week to make it solid that this is what we want.
Okay, because I actually started writing on the consortium.
So there's a little bit of me that's concerned that like I think that there's not a huge difference between 4 to 6, 4 to 7, and 5 out of 8. And say if no one puts up the poll, and then we have 6 people or 7 or 10 people who vote on it, and we have 40% for this and 30% for that, and so forth. Like maybe it's helpful just while we're on this call just to come to consensus about it. And I think Rosmari was saying that she started to make a proposal. So personally, I prefer just while we're here, this is when we're able to communicate more effectively than on the Telegram chat. So I don't know if everybody wants to think about it more, but I would just be willing to just pick one right now. I think, I mean, we could always change our mind, but well, we can wrap it up if you all want, or talk about something different. But does anybody have an issue with 4 to 7, or think that we definitely should do 4 to 6 or 5 out of 8 instead, or something else?
Yeah, I don't have like, usually you guys know me, I'm very opinionated. I have strong opinions and stuff, and that's a genuine feeling, but I don't have I don't have my footing on this one. I really don't. That's what I was looking for this week. I don't. So yeah.
I think I brought up all the considerations, but I agree with Perry. Having brought up the considerations, I think all three of them are acceptable.
But we have to reach consensus at some point.
Yeah, so I'm curious, Tadas, you kind of recommended Tadas said he has to go. He supports 4 to 7 plus maybe time delay. Plus, I suggest replacing Marco with somebody else if he is not strong and participating. Sounds good.
I support that too.
Okay, you support that. Thanks for joining and sharing all the thoughts, Tadas. Really, really appreciate it.
Tadas, when you say time delay, you mean going from 4 to 3 or going from 5 to 4?
What do you mean?
Time delay means we need 5, but with a delay, 4 is enough? Or do you mean 4 and with a delay, 3 is enough? Because 3 is less than half.
I was thinking that we need 4 people and no, wait a second.
I don't think that we should ever drop below half.
Yes, 3 is maybe too much. So I to be honest, I'm not sure if time delay in the owner permission even does anything.
Yeah,
we need to learn about it.
That's the conclusion that's where I'm at right now about the owner time delay. I don't know why we would delay the owner.
So the reason why the reason why I proposed the time delay in the owner, and that's why we've had it for the past year and a half or whatever, was just one, I was just trying it out. I know it's a feature of EOS, and I figured we could try it out at the time. And then 2, I figured if there ever was a change, it gives us 2 days to decide or have just some time to think about it if there is a change than if we wanted to do it. I don't think it makes a big deal either way.
The only way the delay is meaningful is if somebody can vote no and reduce the consensus.
Yes, but we don't know if that is possible.
Is that an option?
With owner permission, that's not an option. There was the idea that the owner permission could veto the active permission, basically. That's something we could design by having a longer time delay for the active permission than the owner permission.
If the vote is 4 against 1, would the time delay still let the 4 win?
Yeah. Yeah. The time delay counts as 1. So I would suggest, regarding your previous question, 4 to 7, I would say that the actual permission threshold is 5 out of 7. We keep the current 2-day delay, and then you need 4 people out of 7 to change it, or 5 people. 4 people plus 2 days, or 5 people.
Yeah. The big thing about delay is it gives security, because it makes sure that every one of the 7 has at least a chance to see what's going on and to convince the others and other stuff.
Yeah, that was part of the idea too. So people have 2 days to convince each other otherwise.
Let me give the classic scenario. If 4 people get hacked, it gives a 5th one a chance to get in touch with them and tell them to recover their account and undo it. So that's where the delay helps. The delay helps against hacking.
Yep. I agree. So thanks, Noam, for explaining that. So I'm in support of having the delay on the owner permission. I'm in support of having 4 people out of 7 plus a 2-day delay. So 5 out of 7 with delay, as Tadas stated. And I'm in support of adding Perry to that 7. And I'd also be in support if Joe wants to be on the Msig instead of Marco. I'd be in support of that as well. Marco and Eric and Duane were kind of all in the same situation where they could be if they wanted to.
Rosmari, you don't want to be?
Yes, she said no for now, I think.
I see.
Of course, we could change your mind too. Rosemary, if you rethink that by next week and you do want to
If
be,
you
you could
want,
volunteer to do
if
so.
you want, you can have my place.
And if you want to respond, Rosemary, go ahead. Otherwise, we can also save for next week.
Okay then. Okay.
Okay. See you,
Yeah.
Tadas. Thanks.
Bye
Do
bye.
you want to explain what you mean by okay, or should we maybe just put hats on and wrap it up and think about it for next week, and somebody can make a proposal? Or anybody else have any other thoughts for Murray or anybody else? I don't know if you want to add what you meant by okay there.
Express yourself.
Okay. Okay. I can be part of the Msig too.
Why are you so shy today? What's going on?
I'm not shy.
A little bit.
Yeah, Rosemary, she shared another fractalgram tutorial, and she was sharing lots of thoughts in the breakout room. So I think you missed out on that, Perry. But also, I was having a conversation with Rosemary before about the Msig, and I asked her if she wanted to be on it before our meeting, and she was also saying that she got a lot of work because she's working full time and beyond full time with what we're doing with Eden Creators, and like working on editing the videos and catching up on a lot of work that we've been doing and so forth. So she was saying, some people are like, she's not totally sure about all the details about how the Msig works. She just joined the community like 6 months ago, so she's still learning a lot of it while also having a lot of other responsibilities. So that's why she wasn't totally sure if she wanted to be on. But I also support too.
But okay, I can go. I can do it.
No, I understand. That makes sense.
If it's going to take away from your time to do the other things, I'll stay. And
I don't know
anytime
if
you
it will.
want, you can have my place.
Oh yes, maybe we can then.
Since
I mean,
Rosemary's
if
the
anything,
only,
we can switch eventually. If anything.
Okay. I'm not trying to put it on you. I'm just offering it, and the offer stands, even if you want it 3 months from now.
she's already doing too much work. I get it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put more load on you. I'm
Are
just
we doing the
saying that
polls or what are we doing?
you have
The
more
next step.
respect and more attendance than me and Vlad and Perry. So you deserve it if you want it, but I don't think you should have. I'm not trying to force it on you.
Well,
Okay, I'll take it.
Hmm?
But are we doing a poll or what are the next steps here? Are we
well,
still doing with the polls and
I think Noam has volunteered to create at least one poll, and hopefully at least 2,
Well,
right?
Well, yeah, and one of them is the 5 out of 7,
Yeah.
or I don't even know if we have consensus on 5 out of 7, we can just go with that, and we don't need a poll. And
Let's poll it. Let's poll it. That's fair. That's fair.
okay, so if we want to poll it, what's the other option? 6 out of 8.
How do we decide who?
5 out of 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 3 options we talked about. You know them all. And then
I don't want to put 3 because then we could end up with a 40-30-30 and we'd have to run another poll. Or we could decide to do that, but that means 2 iterations. It's gonna take longer.
So I think we mostly had consensus about the 4 to 7. So I think we could skip on the poll if we want, or Noam, if you want to put that up, I would just vote for 4 to 7, and I encourage you to do so. I think more polls could.
I'll only put it up if there's a consensus that we need to put it up.
My consensus is that we don't need to. From what I heard, it
Me
seemed like we
too.
had full consensus.
5
But
out of 7 with delay. I support that too. And Tadas
Perry?
supported this.
You're asking whether I accept 4 of 7?
5 out of 7 with delay, with the delay, it's 4 out of 7.
Yeah, I'll accept it. I mean, that's fine.
Okay, so we have full consensus of all the delegates. We don't need a poll on that. Let's move on to the second poll. Should we just make a list of 7 people and put it up to a vote yes, no?
But the problem, Noam, is that we're past the regulated time, and of course we're just all humans, and we could do
No,
it.
but that's the thing. If I put it on a poll, then it's going to be next week's regulated time, but they'll just have to vote on it based on what the poll says.
That's true, but I think there's value in respecting whatever rules we have in place.
Okay.
I don't know. That's just my feeling on it. I think that there's nothing magical about the rules that we've created, but whatever we've done, people have left the room, right? And we're kind of just like hijacking in a way.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. The point is, if we have consensus on 5 out of 7, I have no second option to put on a poll.
Yeah, so I think that we're good with the 4 to 7. I mean, if you want to put it up, Noam is totally fine with you, but he said you do it if
I have
you
no
feel like we need
problem
to.
with putting it, but I don't have any second option to put on the poll right now, so let's move on to the other poll we said we are going to have.
Okay, sounds good. And then,
Cool.
yeah, well, one thing I want to say to you, Noam, too, is I really appreciate, like, you've been very committed in joining most of the meetings and sharing your thoughts, like, quite in detail about this. So I would very much appreciate you to be on the Msig. I know you said you were willing to give it up, so it's totally up to you, but I think you'd be a great person to be on the Msig, so I
I'm
appreciate
willing
that.
to be, but I really want if Rosmari wants it, I'll give my spot up to her anytime. I'm willing to take the spot so she can do other things in the meantime.
Five of
Whenever
8.
she wants it, she can have my spot.
Let's do 5 of 8. That makes everybody happy.
I mean, you could, but that also we had consensus
Oh.
at 4 to 7, so we go around and around, and I don't know.
Okay.
I'm still not sure. Rosemary said she can do it, but I don't know. Maybe it's best to just think about it over the next week, and then we can decide who really wants to do it the most. Right now, we have.
We don't, and we're not going to have consensus on who the 7 are. So the question is,
we will have consensus by next week.
We don't have it. We won't have it today. The question is, what kind of poll can I put up between today and next week that will make it easier to come to consensus by next week?
I don't know. I mean, did Os already put up? Oh, go ahead, Rosemary.
Maybe we can do maybe first ask with a list of, let's say, 3 suggestions for 3 suggestions on 7 names each suggestion, which is not a poll, it's just which or maybe it could be a poll, maybe it could be done in different ways, but either 3 polls with different combination of names of 7 people.
I think that we're making this. I was going to say that I think we're making this more complex than necessary. I don't think we need another poll. The hospital poll last week or a couple days ago, would you take responsibility of being a part of the owner permission of Eden Fractal? There were 7 people who voted yes. We could just use just have those 7 people who voted yes, and just switch out Marco for Perry and call it a day.
Well, if we switch out Marco for Perry, then we can't use Tadas's poll. We have to put up another one.
We don't have to. I mean, that's just a guide. I'm just suggesting, like, we all came to consensus. It seemed like Tadas said that.
Yeah, but think about how it's documented for the next time they have to make the decision. You don't want it to look like we did something in a back room.
I mean, all the videos are published, no, and the way they'd be proposed, it's proposed on consortium, and then the delegates would vote on it next week. So we're already done everything we need to do to be fully transparent and beyond that. So if you want to make more polls, no, then I encourage you to do so if you want to think about it. But I'm just trying to offer a simple
I'm not-
solution, and I think that
I offer to make polls if we need. If we don't, I'm happy not to do anything. I'm living up to my commitment to make polls if they're needed. If you tell me they're not needed, I'm happy to.
cool. Well, thank you very much, Noam. I really appreciate that. And yeah, personally, I don't see a need to make more polls at this point. I think it was a good idea, but just looking at this, there's 7 people who volunteered. We had consensus about maybe Perry's more enthusiastic than Marco, so we can just include Perry instead of Marco there, and then go with 4 to 7, and we propose that for next week. And I think the time delays that I suggested are pretty good. It has a 2-day time delay with a wait of 1 for the owner permission, and a 3-day time delay for the active or the Morpheus permission. And those have lower thresholds. We can figure the details there in the proposal. But basically, I think that we should just, I mean, people can change if they want, but I'd be happy to vote yes for proposal next week for those 7 people with 4 to 7. And then we could also figure out the active and Morpheus permissions throughout the week. And we are just about at 3 hours. So I'd say we could probably wrap it up now, maybe put some hats on and so forth, unless anybody else has any thoughts.
Okay, let's get the hats.
Okay.
Sounds
good. Anybody else have any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
Well, I would say that even as painstaking and frustrating as this process is, I'm learning from it. So this process that we just went through, it's at some point it's going to get automated. At some point it's going to get smooth and quick, and it's a matter of just figuring it out. So we're gonna do it smoother and faster in the future. But yeah, we have to go through this process. This is very much like software, right? You try to walk through it manually, and then you eventually get it smoothed out. So don't be discouraged, everybody. Don't be discouraged and frustrated. It's just part of how you make these kind of things. That's my closing statement for the day.
Here. Thank you, Perry. I agree. A consensus isn't easy. And it's often fun. Sometimes it's rigorous and boring, but we're making progress and we're getting better at consensus and leading the way for everybody else to reach consensus much faster, as well as ourselves.
And Dan has a new hat.
I do. I have a little thing there. And also too, my uncle got me like this instrument too. So I just want to show it all with you. It doesn't have the
concertina?
Yeah, it is a concertina actually. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's missing a strap, but anyway, I figured even with the hats, I figured I'd show with you. I can't play it too well though yet. But perhaps that's a nice note to end on.
That's not the way you play it.
That's not the way to play it. It needs a strap so you can like properly play it, because right now it's very difficult to play.
No,
but anyway, I know you've been here for a long time. Yeah, no, stretch it out, but then it doesn't have a strap, so
I don't hear it.
You don't hear it? Oh, maybe it just maybe it's Zoom settings or something like that. Okay, well, never mind. Actually, maybe it wasn't fitting. Maybe you heard that. Anyway, it's good. I know we've been here for 3 hours. So I'm not trying to put a concert on, but it was next to the hat, so I put it on and figured I'd show a neat thing. And thanks, Mom. So if she's watching this, so anyway, anybody else have any last words? I suppose we can wrap it up. Maybe we go 3, 2, 1, Eden Fractal. I'll get my hat back on. Everybody ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay. Me too. 3, 2, 1, 0. Go Eden Fractal. Thanks everybody so much. Great meeting.
All.
And on to consensus. Thanks all. See you.
See you.
Bye.